That's how the band started. Was a newsletter that was a parody of Wink's Fun Club. I still have some of the Fun Club newsletters in the attic.
That's how the band started?
Yeah, the band started as a newsletter before there was even any band.
Ballers, Joe Jack Talcum from the Dead Milkmen stopped by the record store and we talked about the unlikely origins of the band, as well as the possibility of further super deluxe editions of Dead Milkmen records. If you dig this video, click like and subscribe. It's a huge help to the channel. If you want to see super deluxe editions of Dead Milkmen records, comment below and tell us what you want to see. Would you buy the Big Lizard box set we picture later in this video?
They were putting other artists out on cassette, and their response was, "Oh, you're a punk rock band. Punk rockers don't buy cassettes." And we were like, "You don't know our audience. We got started making our own cassettes and selling them at shows, and people are writing to us every day. When are you going to release your album on cassette?" And once they did, they realized that we were right and they were wrong.
And did it blow up? Did you sold more cassettes?
Yeah, we sold way more cassettes than vinyls. At first, I thought that's a step down in sound quality. I wasn't impressed with it. And I don't think Restless Enigma made the greatest sounding cassettes, but whatever.
Yeah, and it's
They're,
also
they're,
microscopic. Like, you don't get much in the way of a liner note album cover art
yeah,
experience.
we wanted to be generous, but then the record company stood in our way of that too and said, you can't get everything. You're not getting the lyrics in your cassette. But as we sold more, we could demand more. So like by the time Beelzebub came out, we had extra panels.
As a fan, I appreciated the fact that you guys also had your P.O. box on the back of the records.
Yeah.
And then you could write to you, which I did.
Okay. And we mimeographed our own lyric sheets because that was something that people asked for. We would just send them back if they asked for them.
Yeah, you guys wrote me back and you sent candy wrappers. Like candy bar wrappers, the stuff that which I absolutely loved, and it was like a photocopied newsletter or something. And I wish I had thought to ask for lyric streets, but I think there were some drawings or something very personal. You know, somebody hand wrote me a letter back.
Each of us did that. We took our mail from our PO box and divided it into 4 piles, and that was one of our jobs, was to reply.
And you
And
would
then
do that while you were touring around?
yes, while we're touring around, we each have our own stack of mail, and even while we're at home, we would do that. We had not an intern, but some paid person, our manager hired, and I did it too. We all pitched in, but whenever we could, like data entry was the thing that I'm talking about. So after we would get our mail, we wouldn't just throw it away. It would go into a pile for data entry.
And how many people were on your mailing list?
At the height of it, I think it was around 6,500.
Well, one of them was me.
Yeah. We got our own bulk mail thing.
This was pre-computers.
Well, it's pre-internet, but we used sometime at the end of 1986, our manager got an IBM copy, a PC clone, and we transferred our mimeograph mailing list into the computer, and that's when we started the data entry thing. So we were using computers to generate labels.
You had a regular newsletter, right?
Semi-regular. It came out whenever we felt like, or whenever we would have a tour to announce, or an album to announce.
And so you would just do something like, and did you do it as like a parody of like a Beatles fan letter type thing or something?
Well, that's how the band started, was a newsletter that was a parody of Wink's Fun Club. I still have some of the Fun Club newsletters in the attic.
That's how the band started?
Yeah, the band started as a newsletter before there was even any band.
Wow.
In 1980. It was just my neighbor Garth and me coming up with stories, adventures for for this fake band that we would write about through the newsletter. And then we made a tape in 1980 called So Long 70s. Garth, he was my neighbor, gave a copy of that to Rodney in high school, and Rodney then approached me and said, "Hey, can I get in on this project? when's your next recording session? And then we got Rodney over to my house and started recording. He started writing songs with us.
Wow.
Real
And so
life,
you basically were
ad-lib.
writing theme songs to that went along with the content that was in the, like a zine, basically.
Yeah,
That's cool, Joe.
it wasn't a zine. It was a fan club newsletter, and the fan club, the people who ran the fan club were obviously not fans of Jack Talcum. He didn't get on their good side, and they let it show every now and then as part of the humor. You can read all these newsletters online; they're all posted.
Hold on, Jack Talcum was a character, was a fictional character who was in this newsletter before it was you.
Yes, before it was me, he was a fictional character. I just decided to take that Joe. I just plopped Joe in front of the name and became the character. But the character, me, it was not the character. I just used that name. So when we became a real band, then we slowly stopped writing adventures for ourselves because we had our own adventures that were real.
Wow. And what happened to Garth, your other collaborator from early days?
Garth, he's now an accountant, city of Philadelphia, but he left the Dead Milkmen when it was still a fake band, to join the Air Force, and then he moved to California. So I get occasional letters from him. Occasionally, I get a phone call here and there. We kept in touch. His name in the Dead Milkmen was the Pope Garth O'Neill.
Nice.
And we called him the Pope.
Fascinating, Joe. So tell me if I'm completely off base here. I thought Joe Jack Talcum was like, and Rodney Anonymous were almost punk names, but a little bit tongue-in-cheek. Like, instead of being really hard, like Sid Vicious, Joe Jack Talcum is like soft and gentle, like talcum powder.
Yeah, exactly. That's where I got the name from, talcum powder, of course.
Exactly.
No, because Jack Talcum didn't start out as punk rock. He started out as folk, like his father, Jack Talcum Sr. He wanted to become punk rock, and the Dead Milkmen in the backstory had already existed as a punk rock band, but he basically infiltrated the band. He convinced them that they needed him as their front man.
Did you illustrate all these stories too, Joe? Because I know you're an artist, a visual artist.
No, I didn't illustrate them. It's just
none of them.
The newsletter, you can see it online. I mean, some of the things that are we said, oh, this is a picture of Jake Giles or whatever, or Pope Garth, were just pictures that I cut out of the newspaper of other people, like politicians or whatever. And
right.
They weren't the real person, not at all. We may get in trouble for all I know for putting them in the newsletter, but they're on the internet. They're PDFs you can get. Let's see.
Well, those would be a good. That's content for your super deluxe editions. You know. What do you do? Oh, you're looking it up there? DM newsletter archives. That one didn't work, but this one does. Okay, cool.
After 1987, we changed the format of the newsletter. You may have some of those copies, and they just didn't fit on my scanner, so I stopped doing it.
Very cool. Well, that would be a good addition to a super deluxe or any release. Really, would be to include some copies of that. I know you give it away, but people don't know how to find that stuff, Joe. You know what I mean? It's cool. And then you continued to send it out. When you continued to send it out, was it like an altered version of that, or did it become something completely different when you were sending it as the band, when you became the Dead Milkmen?
Sometime in 1980, let's see when it was, 1986.
Are you going to write a book, Joe Jack?
No.
Why not? Have you thought about it? What?
Okay, so newsletter number 23 is when real information comes into the picture, but it still has fake information because we're still resolving some of the storylines that were in the fake one. But the first real information is the issue number 23, where it explains that we played the Harleyville show, which was in real life our first ever real show. But we just kind of pretend that it's not we just say, yeah, we invaded the Harleyville Youth Center and played a show for these kids. Punks invade Harleyville, that's what it says. I feared for my life, local farmer. Quote.
I'm looking at this, and it's the next one is The Tour by Rodney.
Yeah, and that's a real tour, I think. Now, I don't even know if it was a tour, but what we call it a tour. Also inspired by, like, Weekly World News, National Enquirer type of yellow journalism.
Cat 71 perishes as heat hits 100 degrees. Former dead milkman Joe Jack Talcum shot dead.
Yeah,
Wow.
that's around the same time, coincidentally, that John Lennon got shot.
Jeez, like it was just a coincidence that you released it around the same time. Man,
What was it like? 2 months afterward. 2 months after.
former dead milkman Jack Talcum Jr. was shot and killed last night by a lunatic in leather trousers. Jack Talcum was returning home from dinner with his girlfriend, Kit McCat, when a tall, dark-haired white man with Devo glasses shot him several times in the chest. Several police rushed to the scene of the shooting, but not soon enough to capture Jack's assailant. The murderer escaped and has not yet been found.
So yeah, it's not the best of writing, but it got. That's the inspiration for the Dead Milkman, was to have a newsletter, I guess, and then it became the other way around.
As was Jack's wish, his body will be placed in a large guitar case and buried somewhere in the Congo. Private funeral services are planned for Thursday, December 11th.
Yeah. The Dead Milkmen, by the way, the Dead Milkmen were most famous, most popular in the Congo.
What country are, aside from the U.S., what country are you guys most popular in? England? France?
I guess Canada.
Canada? Yeah, because you tour Canada.
We tour Canada more than any other place. And then I would take a guess that it's Germany because of the tours that we did do in Europe. That also may be because there were more army bases at the time in Germany, and that may have skewed my perception of it.
Right.
I don't really know. When I went back with the low budgets were very popular in Germany.
And interestingly, when I tried to buy your 12-inch single of Punk Rock Girl, it only exists as a UK product.
That's the only... In the United States, it was only a 7-inch and cassette single.
Right.
In UK, it was a 12-inch.
And even the 7-inch is hard to find.
Yeah, that was a rush release thing.
Oh, really? They were like, "Oh my gosh, this is a hit. We better hurry up and put out some records."
It did not only surprise us, but it surprised the record company that they got a video on MTV in rotation, and then they had to rush release a single. It's funny in retrospect. But that's
who drew the picture of the girl, Punk Rock Girl, on the cover of the record?
Dean's wife, Melissa.
Dang, and you drew the Eat Your Paisley cover, right? Or did Dean?
Dean, I didn't draw any. I didn't draw any Dead Milkmen covers.
You didn't.
Although I got asked to draw the single art for our upcoming album pre-release single that's going to come out before the album. So maybe I can say that much.
Would you consent to come back on and talk about the record if they allow you to? Do I have to ask somebody official about it? Do I have to ask your publicity person?
Yeah, I can probably, if I remember, send over his contact information once.
All right.
Once we get the ball rolling.
Tell me if this is folded into the same thing. You guys reacquired the rights to your couple of your early records recently.
Oh yes, we did.
And does that mean that we could possibly look forward to like super deluxe editions? Have you thought about doing something like that?
We already did. We did a super deluxe Metaphysical Graffiti. That's the first album that we got the rights back to.
Okay.
And that's the first re-release that we did We did it through Giving Grief, the company that's putting out our latest material.
It was a super deluxe in that it had a coloring book with it and a 7-inch, right? Bonus 7-inch?
Yes. It had a reproduction of the promotional Methodist coloring book that was put out in 1990 for the original Metaphysical Graffiti release.
Was that in the original record?
And it had brand new art for the cover. We didn't have the model that Dean put together for it was still hanging around in the photographer's closet, which he found, let us know. And they did some more
Was restoration required?
restoration, yeah,
Yeah.
and did a whole gatefold thing. So it's really nice to make everything fit on the vinyl. The original vinyl didn't have all of the music that the CD had. That really long piece at the end that people the bit about, did you ever find sausage with hairs growing out of it,
Mm-hmm.
was not on the original vinyl.
Right.
And in fact, this was back when record companies were actively pushing CDs instead of vinyl, and they were phasing out vinyl. And I think a very limited number of the original Metaphysical Graffiti vinyl got pressed to begin with.
Yeah, some of your old vinyl really is super desirable. It's hard to get, you know?
Yeah, there's limited amounts of it. We probably sold more cassette than vinyl in our early days, and then it got replaced by CD and cassette. So
Right.
I guess our fans weren't the biggest vinyl buying group, but now the younger people want vinyl more than anything for some reason. So it worked out for us pretty well. We did that reissue in conjunction with Record Store Day last year. The 7-inch contains the thing that wasn't able to be fit on the vinyl, because vinyl has a limited space where CD has, more space, more time that you can include on it. And we extracted the improvised bits and put them all on one 7-inch. And we got new art original art for that, designed by our friend Sam Lockwood. So all in all, it was a nice package.
So the album cover is like a recreation of the original album cover. Restored it and rephotographed it?
Yes, it looks the same. Don't quote me, I might be wrong. If I could look at the two side by side.
Maybe the original document was lost and the quality
I think you're right. I think that's the problem. We relied on the record company to keep that stuff because they owned it, but now it came back to us. So.
That sort of folds into my next question, which is: are you going to give the same treatment to any of your other albums? And have you thought about including alternate track things that haven't been released, or live stuff like the CBGB show you were talking about?
Yeah, that's a good idea, but I don't think we discussed it yet. Our focus right now is on the latest album of new material that we just wrapped up.
Of course.
That might be happening.
All right, Joe Jack. Well, thanks for talking about your possible Super Deluxes, which you didn't have a lot of information on, but I just want to tell you, if you need somebody to consult with you on your Super Deluxes, I'm your ball.
Thank you, Dennis.
If you like that video, watch this one above my head, which is my interview with Joe Jack, where we talk about the Beatles. Right?